Bronny James just had a cardiac arrest. Now, a cardiac arrest and a heart attack are not the same thing. And I know a lot of people think they're the same thing. Now, I'm not a doctor, but the way I understand it is the difference between a cardiac arrest and a heart attack is when you have a cardiac arrest, your heart stops beating. It stops pumping blood to your body. And when you have a heart attack, your heart doesn't stop beating. A heart attack is due to the blockage of blood getting to the tissues of your heart, and part of your heart tissues start to die. So what Bronny James had was way more deadlier than a heart attack. He could have died. Luckily, he was at a facility and he was around people that were able to take care of him, because people who have cardiac arrest could die in a few minutes if they don't get the help they need. And it's very tragic that this happened. And I want to talk about why it happened and a downstream effect it's going to have on Bronny James and his ability to potentially play basketball again. Why did it happen? I'm not a doctor, right? But the reason why your heart would stop is due to either blockage of blood getting to your heart, or it's an electrical problem. You guys know when people are monitored, hearts are monitored with like EKG, right? Those measure the electrical signals that go to your heart to keep your heart pumping. So it could be because of that he has some sort of condition that prevented his heart from being able to pump. Now, when you have a cardiac arrest, they check your other organs to see if they're still functioning, right? Because if it is due to electrical problems, maybe it's affecting other organs as well, right? So it could be because of that. And then it could also be because that Bronny has some sort of medical condition that we don't know about. We, the public, don't know about. I wasn't there. I know just as much as you guys do, but I'm making inferences based on what I've read and what I know. It could be that Bronny James had some sort of condition that we didn't know about, and that's not rare for athletes, right? For example, LaMarcus Aldridge, right? He had to stop playing basketball early because he had a problem with his heart. It sucked, but it happens. It's the same thing with Bosh. Bosh had to stop playing basketball because of blood clots, right? So there are certain things that prevent people from being able to continue playing basketball that's not related to injuries. And as someone myself with a chronic illness, I can relate to that. Being stopped from being active or being able to do the things that you want due to chronic illnesses or outside factors is pretty hard, right? But then there's also the topic of the jab that people took 2 years ago. And I know it's a very sensitive topic and people don't want to talk about it. People don't want to talk about it so much so that even when you bring it up on Twitter, people call you a conspiracy theorist. People call you crazy. It's such a taboo topic to talk about. But to act like it wouldn't play a role in this is just disingenuous, right? Ever since the jab started coming out 2 years ago, we've seen an uptick in younger people having heart problems, myocarditis, pericarditis. Myocarditis is the inflammation of the heart muscles, right? Pericarditis is the inflammation of a particular part of your heart muscle, right? So there has been an uptick in heart problems with people that have taken the jab, right? And we have to acknowledge that. We as a society have to speak about that. I'm not saying that's the reason Bronny James got a cardiac arrest, but I'm not saying it isn't either. I'm of the camp that we should look at the possibilities of everything that happened, but people on Twitter and talking heads don't even want to mention that possibility. It's a possibility, and we've seen it happening to athletes more and more. Damar Hamlin, for example, he had a heart problem just this year. We never seen that in the NFL before. There were some soccer players that were having heart problems, and I understand that athletes have heart problems, and they had heart problems in the past, but we've seen a gradual uptick in it happening in the last 2 years. So it could definitely be a reason for why Bronny James suffered a heart complication, a cardiac arrest. But it also could not be, right? It could also be because he has some unrelated chronic illness that we, the public, don't know about. I'm perfectly fine with that. But what I'm not fine with is when people bring up the jab and they're immediately dismissed or called crazy or called conspiracy theory. That's not the case. I think when people do that, it's disingenuous. And all the same, it's terrible for Bronny James.